If you want to ask a question directly, you're free to do that. Eva and I are both available by email. You can email us, or you can also telephone us. We answer the phone. Some of you know this already, that we do respond. Maybe if you haven't tried it yet, you might enjoy that. Um, if you want to submit a bug report, remember you can do that verbally on a Zoom call or on the phone, but if it's complicated to write it out, you don't need to unless you're already skilled at doing technical bug reports, because often the text is extremely difficult to understand on our end.
Well, Tom wants to say that we are absolutely approachable. So don't miss your chance. If you want to talk to us, if you want to email to us, we are human. So
Right.
that's what
Yeah.
he wants to say.
Yes, we're working on getting an AI robot to answer all your questions.
Never, never.
No, that's not our style.
No.
All right, so on to the material. So we went through the feedback from when we polled people to say what they would like to see talked about in a webinar, and we got enough for many 1 hour webinars. So we took the top priority stuff. Most people are asking about how to handle playlists and schedules and the automation stuff with recognition and the confusions and complexities that can arise there. So I'm going to actually give a sort of a lecture a bit about how that stuff all fits together, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's see, where is that file? There's this. Did you all see this on? Yes, last week tonight, a couple of days ago. Oh, that's that TV show.
John Oliver.
Yeah, the John Oliver show.
Public service announcements.
The station is KRZA, Rocky Mountain.
That they don't always get.
This is a nice moment here. Watching carefully.
That I just read on this morning's show included an announcement.
Look.
Distribution of
See that?
supplies that is occurring
on the TV. There was spinach on.
Yeah.
So yeah, spinach.
Thanks for Jamie who pointed it out to us. I think Jamie is on the webinar. Thanks
Awesome.
again. And no, we are famous. So
Yes.
You're welcome.
3 seconds on the
Yeah.
on the John Oliver show.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what we're talking about today. That's our agenda. Okay, so we need to talk about the difference between playlists and shows. Fundamentally different things. Here is Allegheny Mountain Radio, and they've got a nice, tidy looking schedule and good collection of playlists. And this view shows us the difference between playlists and shows. Shows are things in the future. And I say thing, and it's like a database entity. It's a concept of a thing in the future. The program schedule tells your staff and your listeners what you expect to play on the radio sometime in the future. Playlists are in the past. They are record keeping. A playlist is a document in which you write down what you did on the radio. Some of you probably remember this kind of paperwork, right? Mm-hmm. This is from 1999. This is one of my playlists from WZBC. And it was important. It was required. This is record keeping. And you need to, if you're going to run a tight ship, if you're a broadcast radio station, you need to keep that. Now, the program schedule is a bit different. In fact, it's completely different in a semantic way. The program schedule is what you intend, describes what you intend to have as programming in the future. Now, if you're the BBC and you got like BBC One television or sometimes preempted or sometimes changes, but it's unusual. If a member of the royal family dies or something like that, then programming changes that day. But otherwise, it's pretty rigid. The stations that use Spinitron, not so much. In fact, it can be very variable. in particular at college radio stations, DJs can pick up shifts from other DJs who can't make it quite commonly. They often do this even quite casually, not telling station management about it. So there's also a thing in Spinitron where the schedule itself is incomplete. We've got few examples of that at Allegheny, but there's just 2 gaps in their schedule for this week. What I'm doing here, by the way, is clicking forwards. There's just 2 gaps there. So they've got a nice complete schedule, but a lot of stations do not complete their schedule. So what you're not even telling, in this case, the Spinitron schedule, the Spinitron database doesn't even tell your listeners or your staff what you're planning to do at a given time in the future. And when I say a given time, I mean a given date and time. It's not just day of the week. Some stations come to Spinitron getting a bit confused. They think that this is a weekly grid, where it's a day of the week at the top. Well, it's unfortunately not that simple. For a station that does have a simple schedule like that, that would be nice and simple, but it's not like that in Spinitron, because a lot of stations have got alternation, 1 week this DJ, 1 week that DJ, and so forth. We can see these options a little bit further, but the important point is that to use the schedule, you have to use dates across the top, which is why things change color when we look into the past, because these are not shows. These are playlists, and a playlist is a document that holds spins. So let's have a look, see what's in this one. I don't know. Okay, so that's, yeah, it's got music in it. Let's not go through that too carefully. But if we look at a show in the future, that's a show page. You can even see it in the URL up there. Okay? And a show page will tell you the information about the show. Sorry, this is the header for the station. Down here is the information about the show. And then there's the list of past playlists for this show. Okay? If we go to a playlist, well, you know what those look like. This is the bread and butter for Spinitron. So that's the calendar. Now, another way of looking at this is if we go into Spinitron, if you're an admin in Spinitron, you should probably be quite familiar with, across the top here, I'm logged in at AMR. So if I go to the schedule page, then I see something that looks quite similar to the public calendar. But this doesn't show any playlists, right? This is just scheduled shows. So it's a bit weird. What does it mean to have something scheduled in the past? Well, that's just because of the way the software works and the way DJs, sorry, not DJs, but station managers don't generally go and clean up past scheduling. And why should they? It doesn't seem to do any harm to just leave it there. So the main, the next thing I wanted to show you is that we can show in a calendar format in Spinitron. Maybe not all of you have seen this page, but it's there for you if you want. This is a way of browsing through playlists in your Spinitron, going back through the dates. So I can go and have
show the playlist browse.
the playlist list.
Yeah.
Yes, so we would get there through playlist browse. Unfortunately, I need to speed that query up. It's a bit slow. So this is, I'm sure you've seen this page, but there's a little calendar button here, and that's how you get to the calendar view. So what are some of the differences between playlists and shows? Well, they have a thing in common. The things in common they have is a title and a description.
The DJ.
Well, no. Ava wanted to say they have a DJ. Now, in Spinitron, and this is just to do with how the kinds of flexibility that we've built into the database and the application. A scheduled show can have more than one DJ attached to it. So a show in the schedule can be the source of a play. It can be assigned to more than one DJ. So that's quite common. That's a quite common situation, although it's by no means the most typical. However, when we create a playlist in Spinitron, it has to be assigned to one DJ, and it's owned by that DJ. So that DJ then has read-write access to that playlist. This is one of the one of the key differences in we're thinking about it. The playlists are sort of, I mean, everything belongs to the station, and the DJs are representatives of their radio station. But within that schema, the playlists are the responsibility of DJs, whereas the schedule is kind of the responsibility of the overall station. You know, the station staff, and if you want, the DJs as well. So those are like key differences. Now, if we look at scheduling, I'm going to go to a different station here. This is the test station, so I don't mess anything up for AMR. The thing is, we don't actually have a live demo station in Spinitron because we don't have our own radio station to keep filling it up with playlists and everything. So, but for the purposes of looking at the program schedule, we can look at, I don't know, one of these shows. We can edit this show. So this is the same kind of form that we use to create a show. What do we have? We have the actually, let's not do it like this. I'm gonna back up. Sorry to confuse you there. I'm gonna do a new show to show you all the fields. So we have a show name. We have to give it, and this will end up being end up being the playlist name as well. Categories are something that you can set up for shows. This is a menu that you can configure in Spinitron. The duration of the show is set in here. You optionally can set a description. You have to have a show name and a duration. And there's some extra controls here, which we can come back to some other time.
Can you show how to set up the category and the duration?
I can, yes,
okay.
A bit later.
Okay.
Yep, because what I want to do first is schedules.
Okay.
What we have here is DJs. Now I can add DJs here. If I'm a DJ and it's permitted at your station, it's a configuration thing for your station. If you allow DJs to create and edit their own shows, then they're going to appear in here. But if you're an admin and you're creating a show, then you can add more than one DJ. That's weird. I thought I chose a different one. Tom Crawford, or I don't know. Anyway, this is our there you go. All right, now I've got 2 DJs assigned to this show. Now, there's the program schedule. I want this program to be on, let's say, Mondays at 9 p.m., let's say. All right, so I create that. And the show name can't be blank, so I'm going to do TTTT so that I can see it most easily, and it's a 60-minute show. Okay, let's go back to the schedule and have a look for it. Now, I put it on Sundays, didn't I, at 9 p.m.? Did I? It's next week, starting next week? Why can't I see it? 9 a.m.? What did I put in?
Tuesday.
Can you see it? Can anyone see it?
Yep.
There we go. It was on so it's on Mondays. I put it on Mondays starting next week at and there it is. So if I edit this, I want to show you that there's quite a few options in here. If we use this cog icon here, and scheduling gets complicated. So for most people, we just kind of hide the complexity, and you can just choose a number of days of the week and keep it simple. So it's a weekly repetition. If you want something more sophisticated, then this is all the options. You click this cog icon here, or cog button, and well, I can have a repeats every week. I can have repeats every other week. Repeats every 3rd week, every 4th week. So I could have something like it repeats every other week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. All right. Mondays and Wednesdays, sorry. I can have a second time slot where this is getting a bit complicated here, because at I don't know, 6 a.m. on the 3rd Sunday of every month, it's going to be on. All right, and I can keep adding schedules like this to build up a relatively complex set of repetitions. So depending on how, yeah, and there is such a thing as a fifth Monday. I mean, I learned all this from street cleaning signage in Boston, and I think it's just as difficult in New York. So we can set up these repetitions. Now, when we've got the schedules here built into a show, that defines a sequence of occurrences in time over the future. And that's what you're looking at when we look at the schedules for shows looking forwards. They repeat according to the formal rules that are defined in here for each show. Okay? So if you've got a show that's going to be on at a number of different time slots, don't add them as multiple shows over here. Don't do new show more than once. Just put them in as, use the facilities in here, and click save as I try to remember. Now, what else do we need to look at? I've got an invalid schedule. That's interesting.
Yeah, because you didn't check anything here.
I didn't check the third Sunday, I said, didn't I? There we go. Repeats monthly on the first Sunday, on the third Sunday of each month. Now, while we're at it, let's talk about the begin date and the end date. What this does is allows me as as a program director perhaps, or just as a DJ if that's permitted at your station, to put a date at which this show is going to come, this recurrence rather, is going to come into the schedule. This allows me to put into the schedule a schedule change, or to put into the calendar, let's say, a schedule change. So let's say I'm at my, I'm one of your listeners looking at your public page. I could then go through, click forwards a couple of weeks, and now certain changes appear on this page because I put a start date, a begin date, and an end date on the scheduling. Now, you don't have to use these features. You're allowed to leave them blank, but that's another facility that allows you to essentially tell your tell your staff and your listeners about something that's going to happen in the future, but not this week or next week. It could be even further out.
Like a semester change, your shows on hiatus on.
For example, if you're a college radio station, then something changes for the summer schedule, and you could put all of that into Spinitron a couple of weeks in advance, and then people are going to be better informed. You don't have to. You could just change it when it all happens, but then you're going to be, if somebody does use the forwards button to look at what's happening in December, they're going to get information that's probably incorrect.
So it's creating a new show because of the public URL.
Yes, let's do that. Show titles. You might have noticed that I had a, let me click save here. So what's my error? So we'll finish that off, click save. All right. So I've got my program here. Now, if this show, where are we now? If I have to go forwards in time, don't I? TTT is on Monday.
That's, you are looking at.
I'm looking at the wrong.
Yeah.
I need to go to schedule, forwards one, and TTT should be a number of places, but I'm not seeing it. Can you see it Mondays? I don't know what I did wrong.
One week back.
It shouldn't be a week back. It should be scheduled a week forwards.
Okay, sorry.
So what I wanted to demonstrate, but I'm
switch to list view and you can find it.
I don't need to. If I wanted to show you that if I edit a show and this show already has some playlists associated with it, then I do not have the opportunity to rename the show. And there's a reason for this. If you remember back here, when I showed you on the public calendar, or if we just go to Allegheny, we choose any of their shows, noon hour show. Notice up here that this has got a a unique ID for the show in it. So if you've got, and this one web page has got all the past playlists for that show. Now, you don't want to change the title of the show if it's got a whole bunch of playlists associated with it that belong to a different show. So we have a different procedure for that. If you want to put a different show in that time slot, do not go, and people used to do this, so we changed it. Do not go and try to edit the show title and just put as a cheap and easy way of putting something into or just putting a different program into the same time slot when you change the schedule. We want to retire that show and create a new one. And that means that each of these shows is going to have its own public web page with a unique ID and name up here, and it's going to have its collection of playlists. That's one of the things that happens with the relationship between playlist and shows. A show in your schedule can have a collection of playlists associated with it historically, and we want to keep that association tidy. We want to have all of the playlists and only the right playlists associated with that show and listed together. Now, one of the other things that means is that we don't want to have two shows in Spinitron for what is actually the same radio show. So the same radio program. We don't want to have two or more of the same. So there is, some of you might have seen occasionally a sort of yellowish colored warning in Spinitron that says there's another show with the same title. And it's basically reminding you that you're reusing a title for two different database records where the database record is a show. And these are going to end up being two different shows, two different public web pages because of this technical thing here. You can combine those together. There's a procedure for that. I'm not sure we're going to have the time to cover that today, but it's one of the more esoteric and fancy tricks in Spinitron. So I want to get to the business of creating playlists. Now, we can talk about creating playlists. I think most people here are station admins, some kind of station staff positions. And it's more a DJ thing. We've got actually videos for creating playlists that you can use in training. Let's just very quickly go through the main form for creating a playlist. If I'm logged in, I need to use test here. So because of the nature of this station, if my playlist, the shows in the schedule that are associated with me as a DJ, the DJ logged in, are available here. And that's the quickest and easiest way to create a new playlist. We don't need to worry about the extra info just now. The main things to understand, you have to have a playlist name. You have to have a start date and time and a duration. Now, if you create a playlist from a show, then the duration and the show name will get filled in for you, but you still have to check the date and time. The time will quite possibly be right, but it might not be if you've got multiple start times for the same show. So you need to check these things. While we're here, one little feature you might not have noticed is this one called Display as a Future Public Playlist. Now, this is one of the two ways that you can advertise in advance a one-off show. So if you're doing this with scheduling, we can create a new show, and under the advanced options here, we can have doesn't repeat, right? If it doesn't repeat, then there's just a date and a time. And any show that's in the Spinitron database, in your Spinitron database, like that said doesn't repeat, it's going to preempt any repeating show in the same time slot, right? So it's just going to display as a block that overlays the other blocks. So that's a pretty useful trick so you don't need to create a gap in the schedule. They don't appear side by side. It actually overlays it. And the display as a future public playlist is similar to that. It accomplishes a similar thing, but it doesn't create a show in the schedule. It creates a playlist and then says, okay, we're going to advertise this playlist in advance. If you put any spins into the playlist, those won't be displayed until the appropriate time, but the playlist itself will be available in the schedule. So this is a very nice, easy way for a DJ to advertise into the schedule that they're going to do an upcoming episode, and they can put some extra information about that episode in there. For example, they're interviewing somebody, or they've got a special show coming up, or whatever. So those are some extra little tricks, but we need to get on to the issue of automation and audio, the music, automatic music recognition. Because, well, in the good old days when everybody had to type everything in by hand, DJs had generally created their own playlists. Now we're in a position where about 250 stations or something like that are using automatic music recognition. And when everything runs automatically, well, people get lazy, right? And this is exactly what the same thing as happens on aircraft, commercial airliners. They've got autopilots. So all the pilot needs to do is put in the destination, and then they can sit back and sip martinis and whatnot. Actually, it's they are actually paying attention, and it would be a good thing if DJs did too. And here's why. When Spinitron logs a spin that arrives in from automation or a recognition, it has to create a play. It has to put that spin into a playlist. There's no way to have the spin in the database and not in a playlist. That just doesn't work. So if there's a playlist that's appropriate, in other words, its start time is before the spin time, and its duration plus the start time is after. So in other words, the playlist spans the time of the spin, then it can go in there. But if there isn't, then Spinitron has to do something. It has to create a playlist. And it does this, but it doesn't want to, and you don't want it to either. This is possibly the most important lesson to learn today. If you've got, like AMR does, a very neatly defined, this is AMR, right? If you've got a very complete schedule here, then this is by and large probably going to work okay, maybe. Why? Okay, so there's three things that can happen. So first of all, you need to know the playlist is created at the time that Spinitron has to log the spin. So let's say it's 2.5 minutes past the hour, and that's when the next song comes on the radio. That's when the recognition happens. This is the moment that Spinitron has to do something. So at that moment, it's going to have to look into the schedule and see, is there a playlist? Well, we can see from this display, there are 3 different situations. If we're lucky, then it's going to be in one of these blocks, which that moment is going to be within one of these blocks where there's exactly one occurrence of a show happening. In that case, it's unambiguous, but there's other problems here. Now, over here, we've got a couple of empty blocks. So it's possible that there's nothing in the schedule for Spinitron to use in order to use as a guideline or a template to create the playlist. In other words, it doesn't know what should be the title of the playlist, what's its duration, what should be its start time. And then there's the other situation, which we can see in a few places here, where there are 2 shows sharing a time slot. Now, these guys the station AMR could quite possibly use the more sophisticated scheduling, that the advanced options. You remember that cog icon? In fact, I've got it over here, right? No, I haven't. I haven't. Quickly go back here, edit. Could possibly use the alternation with like repeats every other week or something like that in order to get rid of these situations. But it happens like this sometimes. They just set it up like this, and maybe that's good enough. So in these situations, Spinitron, so in the situation where there's no, let's say we get a spin, this is Friday on the 21st. So on this Friday at 1 minute past 1 p.m., Spinitron gets a spin from the recognition system. What does it do? Well, it creates a generic 1 hour playlist starting at the top of the hour and gives it a really generic and boring name. This doesn't look good if you get a lot of those. If you look at those, how they look on a public calendar and on a list of playlists, it's not appealing. It doesn't make your station look good. If it were to happen, if Spinitron has to create a playlist at 1 minute past 6 p.m. this Friday, then it's going to have to choose one of these. And it has an algorithm for choosing it. Basically, it chooses the most recently created of those two. But that doesn't really help you very much because you don't know which one of those that is. In other words, it's not random, but it might as well be for your practical purposes. Now, how to get around this? You could clean up your schedule completely, but an even better way, I think, is get DJs to create their own playlists and don't let Spinitron create them. Remember what I said earlier? If there isn't a playlist already existing to put the spin into, then if there already is one, then Spinitron will just put the spin into it. And that's what you want. So the other thing is that it ensures that if there is a difference between what's really going on at your station that day and that time and what's in the schedule, whoever is actually there and doing the show is probably going to get it right. So if everybody creates their own, if all your DJs create their own playlist, and that's simply what I just showed you here in this form. No, not this form, the new playlist form. So we use this one. All you have to do is get the show title or the player's name, start date and time, get those and click submit. That's sufficient. Right? And you can do it in advance. Then this playlist exists in Spinitron, and it will be ready for the automation system or the recognition system to put the spins into as they come in. And that's going to work beautifully. It's also going to accomplish a number of other things. First of all, the DJ, if they do it at the it's going to surely be owned by the DJ that created it. In other words, there's no confusion about, you can't get into a situation where a DJ, you've got multiple DJs associated with a show, in which case Spinitron has to just choose one. And if there's multiple shows in that time slot, Spinitron just has to choose one. We sort all of that stuff out. We also achieve sort of an accountability. In other words, DJs own their playlists, right? It's not something that happens over there in the cloud that we can just blame. How many people here noticed that Cloudflare was down this morning for about 3 hours? Like lots of websites all over the world went down, right? This is websites offloading their security and distribution and whatnot to this company called Cloudflare. And then they can point the finger at them when something goes wrong. Oh, not my fault, right? But remember, the playlists are record keeping. This is not just about talking to your customer. This is record keeping for your, for legal reasons, for copyright reasons, and so forth. It's also a pride of ownership thing for the DJs. Just create your own playlist, and then during your show, monitor that playlist and watch as the recognized and automated spins get pushed into it. make corrections as you go along. I'm looking at the time here and thinking I'm going to ask Ava and David first to let me know what.
No chat thing, but one more thing about creating a playlist. Can you guys hear me? It's you need to create, if you are following Tom behalf as a DJ, don't create a new playlist. Use the one that that was automatically created. Reopen it or open that and continue monitoring.
Ava, I
Don't-
think we lost you for about 10, 15 seconds at the start of what you were just saying, unfortunately.
Okay,
Yeah.
You
Tom,
wouldn't mind restarting.
he has a better voice.
I'll say it over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ava's making an important point. If you fail to create your playlist in advance and Spinitron creates one for you, don't also create your own, right? Because then we're going to have two playlists for the same time slot. So let's say you get to the station, you haven't created your playlist in advance, you put the first song on, the recognition happens, Spinitron has created one, then go look for it in Spinitron and edit that playlist. Don't just create a new one.
Yeah.
Now, if you have, there's a couple of other topics here we can talk about. If you do have, this actually happens a lot, of course, this duplicate playlist stuff. One was created by Spinitron and recognition, the other was created by the DJ. If you do get into that situation, then you may want to tidy that up. Strictly for legal record keeping purposes, it may not be necessary to tidy it up. But if you want to tidy it up, you can. If it's only one or two spins, the easiest way is to just type them in and then delete the other playlist. If there's a lot, then you can do a quick export and import, and that works. You don't have to download. You can actually do that with copy paste. And we can maybe show that another day. It's a little bit of a flip, and you basically want to avoid these situations as well.
Yeah, we have one question.
A question, go ahead.
Bob Holland says, I wish you could allow more than one DJ to a new playlist. Often a few DJs are doing a show.
Yes.
They can create a combine.
Right. So in the situation where we've got multiple DJs in the booth at one time, yeah, Spinitron requires that only one of them owns it. But you can put multiple DJ names onto it if you want to by using the playlist description. If I go back, use my back button here, we've got the description field here. You can also, if you want to, you could put DJ names into the playlist name.
Or you can create one user account for combined DJs. If you don't mind, if they don't mind sharing a email account,
sharing email and password.
Email and password, then you can have a group of DJs doing one show, and they can rotate among themselves. And just one login would be enough for all of those DJs to access the playlist.
In general, I don't like that approach because I don't like sharing passwords.
But it's possible.
But it's possible to do it. You know, if one person changes the password, then how do the others log in? And if they're rotating, you know, if it's multiple DJs and one person does that show this week and you know, just it's unpredictable, you can just assign multiple DJs to the show and any of them can create a playlist for that show. So that feature is built into Spinitron already, but no, we don't have the ability to associate a given playlist so that it's listed on multiple DJ profiles in Spinitron. That I don't think we're going to do because it would be a real big change to the database schema. Sorry.
And so yeah, Bob, to your second point, I think Tom had just flagged a possible solution. Is that what you were asking about? About two DJs being able to edit a playlist? The same.
Yeah, the same.
Great.
If they want to edit the playlist, you know, while they're doing the show, then they can just kind of crowd around one computer. Or if they're using multiple laptops in the studio, then one of them can log in for the other person. So that's basically sharing the login, the email and password. And if they really need to edit the playlist in afterwards, yeah, I don't have a real good solution for that, but it shouldn't need to happen very often. It's not a bad idea to have one person ultimately responsible for the documentation, even though you're all having a party in the studio together. I mean, not a party, you know what I mean. Do we have I can improvise some more questions for myself to take us to the top of the hour, unless nobody else wants, or do we have other questions coming in?
Assuming admin can decide when auto music recognition gets used, for example, just an overnight playlist, even when a station automation is playing.
Wayne, is the question can an admin decide when automatic music recognition is being used? Is that the question?
Yes,
That's a very
David.
good question. You can yeah. It's
So
either in the schedule.
so let's unmute whoever asked that, because I need to ask a question to better understand the situation.
Wayne.
Hi, Wayne.
Hi.
So what would be the situation in which you want the music recognition to not happen?
Well, DJs, during the day when we have live DJs, right? They will just manually enter things into their playlist without using the auto recognize. But at night, after say 1 a.m., we just play music mixes on our automation. And
why would the DJs not like to have the recognition running?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really explored that yet. That might be something that would happen, but I guess the question is do you sign up for it and then it's always available, or is there admin capability of turning it on and off?
Well, I'll explain all of this to you.
Sure.
So, yeah, but in the case of when we used automation systems and connected the automation systems directly to Spinitron, which still happens, it's just less now that we've got the recognition, then this question was much more relevant, because overnight you might have a robot DJ running, and then during the day you got DJs, and they can actually do a better job typing stuff in. But these days, the DJs doing live radio you typically want to have the recognition running, because it's such a big time saver for them. It's a big labor saver. Some of them don't like it, and for the specific reason that they like precise control. And one problem here is that the recognition system doesn't know what album you're playing. It can recognize a music recording, but if that music recording appears on 100 different releases, it doesn't know which release. If it's the same audio signal on all these different albums, it just doesn't know which one you're playing. So it can get that wrong. Now, a lot of DJs that doesn't bother them. For those that do, they might turn it off. But let me show you then. So in Spinitron, the recognition is, if you're using it, it's always going to work unless you disable it. And you can disable it in two ways. Let's show you one of them. We can go into, I don't think this station has it on.
No, the test doesn't have the AMR.
Well, let's go to AMR. I'm going to mess with their schedule, but not actually save changes. Right. So let's say the Noon Hour magazine doesn't want to have recognition. Then we check this checkbox. Can you see that one? Edit the show, or when in the show form, there's a thing there to disable the recognition. So in these cases, the recognitions come in and they just don't create playlists, and they don't create spins in Spinitron.
They will get ignored completely.
Yeah, they'll show up in the log.
Yeah.
But they won't show in playlists. But you would have to click save. I'm not going to click save there because I don't want to mess around with this. Now I have to use the test if I want to create a playlist. So I create my new playlist, right? And I'm not going to worry about any of that. Click submit. And there's another cog icon on this page. And this is the way that a DJ can choose to set in. So this is preferences in here. if the station has recognition or automation enabled, then there will be a checkbox in here which is the same again. So this is a personal preference. If a DJ doesn't like to use recognition, they can disable it in this cog icon up here. Let's see, is there a way I can demonstrate this? I can
Go into ZBC.
yeah, good idea. Can I have to log out to do that though. I have to go to Spain. I'll need to go to my Spain.
While Tom is logging in, there's a
Yeah.
number of questions about sort of the understanding of sort of getting recognitions or things like classical, just for some understanding about music recognition. We do use a third-party system as sort of the database and sort of the backend technology for it. What that means is that the technology is sort of effectively doing a Shazam to your stream. What that then does is it checks against databases. We use sort of a shorthand to say if it's on a DSP, it'll probably pick up what's on that DSP. Obviously, on the first hand, yes, recognition can pick up, can be slightly wrong. We find it be highly accurate in terms of the actual song. But in terms of release, yes, there is an algorithm behind that it's a small bit of a black box for us, but it does sometimes pick up like a greatest hits or a version that, is on a different one that you wanted to display. For that, I think there was a question about, can you edit recognized tracks? Yes, there's a cog icon that you could, or the pencil icon for recognized songs. Like any song in a playlist can be manually edited and rechecked. Yes.
Absolutely. So that's what it's quite boring here. So this is normally checked for any DJ. Now, this is a DJ preference. If I turn that off, then when a playlist is in Spinitron and it's current, in other words, it's already started, but it hasn't ended yet, and that belongs to me, and my preference is to not use recognition, then recognition will be disabled. So this is a way for a DJ to disable recognition. They can disable recognition for the duration of a playlist that they create. All right. So in this case, this is 2 a.m. To 8 a.m. So on this date from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m., because this playlist is already saved into the database and it belongs to me, Tom, and my preference is to not insert from recognition, then for that time, recognition is disabled. So those are the two ways to disable it. So it's not like we enable it for certain hours. It's like it's always enabled, but there's two ways to disable it, either in the program schedule or in DJ preferences via this cog icon.
Right. Okay, we have one more. Did it answer question? Because we have somewhat related question from Duncan. Can the default of timestamp be changed so new accounts are all the same? We don't use the default that comes up now. I think that's also related. Correct me if I'm wrong, Duncan. Can you unmute and say what you mean by that?
Yes, that's correct. I asked because we were on that page that had the defaults.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So you can change it, and as an admin, you may not see it because that is saved in the user preferences. So whoever is the DJ, they will have to manually adjust it to their preferences. You, as an admin, cannot go into their playlist and change it for them.
Yep.
You can show them how to do it.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I was just wondering if there was a way to change it globally for new accounts so that we don't have to change it every time we set up a new account.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry. No, we don't have to have that. If you send an email or put it on the forum, we can try to put that on the to-do list. It might not be too difficult to do that. No, it basically it's going to be set to clock, I think, is the default.
Yep.
But yeah, coming back to that other point, any spin that comes in to your playlist through recognition or automation will appear in the playlist. So it'll appear in your worksheet below here. I wish I had an example to show you just now, but it'll appear here, and then you can edit those just the same as you can edit the ones that you add. Also, if you're using recognition and something doesn't come up, you can still use the form to add it. So if you're playing something that doesn't get recognized. So those are so the manual features. Well, we've only got a few minutes left. If we're not doing more questions, I would like to ask a question myself, which is, we have been thinking that given the amount of topics, the number of topics that people have raised when we asked, and the number of people that signed up, which is really gratifying, and thank you very much. We'd like to know, like, would you like to have some more of these that cover other topics? I think we haven't really covered an awful lot of Spinatron here, so maybe we should do another. The idea we had was to maybe do it something like once every 2 months. I think once a month might end up feeling like a bit of a chore and an imposition on your time, but once every 2 months, maybe not so bad. So that's the idea we had. And if you like, you can let us know now. I don't know if people can unmute themselves, or you can just you can email us.
Yeses are coming.
Use the forum,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or obviously the chat.
Yeah.
Use the chat. Type
Yeah.
into the
We before we sign off, I think we have 1 or 2 questions actually, just to, if we can check. There was one from Jonathan Mead regarding managing users. We're a college station, and a quarter of our DJs graduate every spring, around 100. Is there a bulk way to recognize who those DJs are and disable those DJs and retire their shows? That might be more user management. We didn't touch quite on user management today. I will say,
I
Jonathan?
think that's a good question for another time, because it's actually quite complex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously, there are ways to essentially bulk retire user accounts, and you can add user accounts 10 at a time. Retiring shows from the schedule, maybe. I'd like to prepare myself to give you a better answer. I think if we go to the schedule and then go to the list view of programs, you may be able to use if you understand how to use these, there may be a convenient way, but we don't seem to have a block checkbox here.
No.
So there may be a way to filter stuff here by I don't know. You might find a way to use that. So that's why I shouldn't improvise an answer to the question. I should prepare it for next time.
Feel free to get in touch with Tom separately, because I spoke to you about it at the conference in New York, but I mentioned it to Tom, but he hasn't gotten around it. So you can also chip in to twist his arm a little bit.
I think it's going to be, as far as the schedule management's concerned, I think it's going to be just a bit of a slog every semester.
Yeah,
yes, we have
problem with it, but it's
I don't know. Some jobs are just clerical,
But don't be shy about with recommendation or request, because that's how Spinitron actually evolved over the years. So we do listen.
Yes, it sometimes surprises me how many features are tucked away in there, and that's because we started a long time ago, and different stations have got different requirements, and we had to put them all in.
Yeah.
Well, not all.
No.
Some of them were just too weird.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say, since we're at time, we appreciate everybody's hour here and coming on. Really wonderful questions. I'll reiterate what Tom and Ava said, which is that we are an open book here at Spinitron. We put our literal cell phone numbers on our contact page. Tom at spinitron.com, Ava at spinitron.com. You probably won't have much reason to email me, but I'm David at spinitron.com. They can handle any side-off questions. As you know, as many of you have probably worked with both Ava and Tom about helping you out. We are always here day and part of the night, but if you really need us, at night as well. But yes, we are definitely going to be doing more of these. Like I said, there's a number of topics, I think, in the initial survey that you may have seen a few months ago, that there are quite a few other topics. User management is definitely one of them. We thought about including it today, but as you saw, that probably would have been a little bit of a tight squeeze here. So we will continue to be putting out when we will be having our next webinar, similar to how you saw it on the Spinitron login. We really appreciate everyone coming here. Please know that anyone from your station is open to these. We just love for them to fill out the form when we put it up, because we know a lot of you may have different people who might not be checking Spinatron as much, or they might have missed the announcement. So anyways,
feel
thank you
free
so
to
much.
Share the link
Yes.
if you think someone at the station would be interested. It's not a secret. We just since this was the first webinar that we created, we didn't want to invite 10,000 DJs at once, so we started with the admins only. But feel free to share the link if there is a need for it.
Exactly.
I'm gonna try to answer
One
Duncan.
second, Duncan.
I'm going to try to answer Duncan's question that was typed into the chat just at the last moment. If everybody has to, if others want to get away, feel free. I won't feel bad about you leaving. So if I understand right, the idea is to have a certain special days of programming. So, for example, you could have a featured Juneteenth day of programming. What I would do for that is, assuming that it's something that's coordinated at by station staff, I would put it in the schedule as a collection of one-off shows. So go to your schedule show, put in a new show, and then use that box there. Doesn't repeat, and we're going to set, I don't know how many of these Juneteenth shows. Maybe you've got like 5 of them from 9 a.m. until whatever. So that would mean putting 5 new shows in with the date and time set like this. Doesn't repeat. And then put into the show name something appropriate that suggests Juneteenth something, whatever it might be. But by using the show name, the public and DJs will be able to see that it's associated with a special block of programming. And feel free always to use the program description for that sort of thing. For one-off shows, as in doesn't repeat shows, the description block is a really handy thing.
Yeah, thank you. One thing I just thought about whenever I saw what you were talking about today with shows, that potentially that could be something that we always do it annually. Maybe it could be something that's added to and is a whole collection of programming over that spans over time instead of a single show. It's just a idea.
Oh, yes, it is. It is possible. Like this. Right, it could be 5 p.m. on this date, right? And then the next one is also doesn't repeat.
It's 6 p.m.
No, in November, it's 2026, right? Whatever it might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can have one show with all these playlists historically collected together, but they repeat only once a year.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the question, Duncan.
Yeah, that was unusual. Good. Yeah.
But I do not want to have to add another year. Repeats annually. Okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Choose the date. Don't say
I'll remind everybody, forums, forum.spinatron.com. We have quite an active forum on Spinatron, not just web or sort of troubleshooting or bug reports. We have quite a few categories of guides, FAQs, and an active group of people who are definitely going to be chatting through similar to this today, hearing what other stations do. We'll be putting this recording shortly on the forums, so check it out. And we look forward to talking to you more, to hopefully seeing you in the forum. And of course, as I said, please reach out whenever you need us. So thank you again, everybody.
If we didn't get to your question, please forgive us, and we'll
Next time,
telephone or call anytime. Okay. Thank you again. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.